Welcome everyone today to our webinar about citizen science in libraries. We are so excited to have you all here and that so many of you were interested in this topic. My name is Kara Reiman. I've been working in Maine libraries for around 20 years. I'm currently working with the Learning Ecosystems Northeast project, which is NASA funded, and how I connected with Sarah. And I also spent a year as a NASA at My Library advisory panel member.
And I am Sarah Kirn. I'm the participatory science strategist for NASA at the Gulf of Maine Research Institute here in Maine. And I've been working in citizen and participatory science, all the names, for over 2 decades. But my first career was leading wilderness outward bound courses. And I got to see firsthand how people learn more when their learning is applied. And even more when what they're doing and the output of what they're learning is of genuine value to somebody else. It just feels really good to us human beings to both feel needed and also to be able to help. So I love the work that I do because I get to work with scientists who have research questions that need lots of people to help answer, and I get to help them create opportunities for lots of people to participate in cutting-edge research, and while they're doing that, discover maybe something about themselves, learn more about science, and also connect with other people. So, and we also have with us today Marc Kuchner. Marc, do you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Sure, I'm Marc Kuchner. I'm an astrophysicist, and I'm the NASA Citizen Science Officer, and I'll be lurking, answering your questions in the chat.
Great to have you with us.
In the Q&A, not in the chat, in the Q&A.
Perfect. Great. So the theme of today and the theme of this toolkit that Kara and I have put together for you is really about learning by doing. So today's event is really structured around that toolkit. So we're going to go over kind of the big picture overview, introduce ourselves, and then we're going to move through on how you prepare yourself for an event, a model event agenda, which includes how you might introduce the project that you're going to focus on. And then we have some resources to close out that community event and help people find a project that's really going to sing to them. As we have a lot of people, we're really excited to have so many of you with us today. So help us help you by using the Q&A tool in Zoom. You'll find a link at the bottom of your screen to ask questions. And before you post a new question, take a minute to see if anything that's already posted is close to what you want to ask. We're going to rely on the questions that get the most votes to answer. So you're better off upvoting a question that's close than adding a new one. And we're going to pause periodically through this event to answer questions about the topic or the content that we've just covered. And we have more time at the end to answer additional questions. So please do use that tool. And I will also say that we are recording this event. You'll have access to the recording and you'll have access to the toolkit itself. We're going to share links to that at the very end.
So you may have found yourself wondering today or at some point, why science in libraries and citizen science specifically? Well, there are a lot of great reasons. I also have some personal ones, and I bet you all do too. When I was working at a public library here in Maine, it was my job to do youth programming. And I discovered one day that the kids in our district were not getting any science classes whatsoever. And I was not a science-loving kid growing up, but I was horrified by that. And I knew that that was a big hole in our kids' lives, in our community. So I decided immediately that I needed to start some science programming at the library. I did a little research around like the kinds of programs I could do, started with the really fun elephant toothpaste kind of things. But mostly I just jumped in and started doing it. I learned a lot of fun things along with the kids, and it became one of my most popular programs, actually. In doing this for my community, I also discovered my own love for science, and I learned how to facilitate programming instead of leading it or teaching it. And that has been a very, very useful skill to have that I have used in lots of other areas of my life. And now here I am, all the way talking with NASA folks. But aside from you and your community, the few important highlights of other benefits. There are nationwide communities of support. Hopefully you're starting to see that with what we share today. There are several resources that cater directly to libraries and STEM programming, including StarNet and SciStarter. They both offer resources, trainings, and communities you can join. Those are both linked in our resources list. Local community engagement. Citizen science and libraries have many of the same goals. Bringing together a community of diverse people is one of the big ones. And these programs are a great way to introduce community members to each other, as well as to your library, and to reach out to other local organizations and groups that you might not already have relationships with. Supporting STEM education. This opens up a great opportunity to partner with your school's science teachers, support their curriculum. It can be really difficult, I know, to connect to schools sometimes. They're all so busy, and this gives you a really great reason to reach out specifically to do so. And contributions to scientific knowledge. You could help scientists across the world potentially contribute to learning new things about our world. When citizen science work on identifying new or unknown things in the sky, you can get your name listed as an official observer. And I think that is very, very cool.
Absolutely. So as I've already said, I'm a huge fan of citizen science. And again, you may know this work already by other names: community science, volunteer science, participatory science, whatever the name is used. And we do hope you pick the name that works best for the patrons of your library. What this work is really about, and very specifically at NASA, it's about engaging volunteers to lend their time and unique human abilities to work on research questions that, for one reason or another, require lots of people to participate in order to answer. And by policy, NASA-sponsored projects that are results-focused, meaning that no volunteer's time is ever going to be wasted. You are making genuine contributions and doing genuine work. You do get a chance to connect with other people, and we really hope that participants come to see science as a useful set of tools and practices and rigorous standards that they can use, they can bring to any question in their life. So that's the policy and the vision, but how are we so confident that this actually happens? Let me introduce you to some of my favorite people. These are four of some of the 40 plus or minus citizen science volunteers who we have profiled on the science.nasa.gov website. We'll share links to all of these profiles with you. Working with these folks has been one of the biggest joys of my work. These are some of the over 500 volunteers in NASA-sponsored projects who have, because they've made significant contributions to the projects, they've become co-authors on the scientific publications that describe the results from the work. So these people have been wonderfully candid about what motivated them to do the projects and also what they're getting out of them. And they are wildly and wonderfully different, just like 40 people off the street might be. And there is a role model or several for each of us in this group of people. These profiles are really a wonderful way for you to understand what happens inside of a project. And they're a great thing for you to share with people who are thinking, well, I'm not sure if science is for me. There's probably a profiled citizen scientist who might have something in common with every one of your patrons. So again, I encourage you to spend some time with these profiles. There's a link from the toolkit, and get to know them and share them with your patrons. So that's a big picture overview of why we're having this conversation with you librarians about these resources. So I'm going to pass it back to Kara to address some of the specifics around these events that we're hoping that you host. And then we'll move on to talk about the model event agenda.
Thank you, Sarah. So let's talk the program, all the things we have to do beforehand, pre-work, logistics, resources that are in the toolkit for you to do that. Okay, so the Daily Minor Planet, I'm guessing most of you have not done it before. So one of the things you're going to want to do is get comfortable with and Sarah's going to walk us through some of this shortly, but get comfortable with the format of the project, not necessarily how to identify everything, but know where to find the information, get familiar with the tools and resources. And we particularly do not want you to become an expert for citizen science. It's so much better for everyone to just be on the same page and be learning together. I know most of us librarians have a tendency to want to know all the things ahead of time. I mean, after all, folks look to us as informational resources. But in this situation, it's actually more ideal to not know all the things. And co-learning with your patrons is a strong message to them that they too can do this. Next. So event space. I want to say right off, I know a lot of you may not have program spaces in your buildings. You come from small rural libraries, especially here in Maine. I know there's not a ton of space. But these are the ideal basics here, to have Wi-Fi, outlets nearby, some way of projection, a big TV screen, and flexible seating. However, if you don't have these, think about partnering. Is there a local organization in your community that has space that could host it? The school could be one. Is there a neighboring library that's also interested in doing this, where you could share together? Here is a poster template. There are a couple versions you'll see when you click on the link. These are here for you just as a kind of template to get you started with advertising your program. It does open up in a Google slideshow, but if you don't use Google, you can download it and edit it in whatever software you do use at your library. And there's one that's this one that's a little more pretty, and then one that's a little more simple depending on your needs.
So we're going to pause here for questions. If anyone has questions, a quick moment for questions on the big picture and event preparation. And I'm going to look at that Q&A tool. So there's a question, are there going to be more events like this, and where can we find information? At the end of our event today, we're going to share a QR code and a link for how you can join an email list from NASA that will give you information about new projects and events like this, and other resources and stories, news from projects. That's one way. We're also going to send an invitation to join that to everyone who registered for this event. And please stick around and answer our final poll, because we have a question for you about what kind of future events might be of interest and how can we better support you. So we want to hear from you what you want. And I think that's the only question we've got. So let's keep moving. Just stopping my timer.
I will say one person asked about accessing the toolkit. You'll get the link at the end of the presentation.
Great, thanks. Okay, so next what we're going to do is I'm going to walk through the model event agenda, which is described in the toolkit. And I want to, the theme of this toolkit is really learn by doing. So the toolkit is not your be all end all, every bit of information about NASA citizen science and all the projects. No one would read that. It would have to be so long. This event agenda and this toolkit is really your starting place. So we're going to orient you to how citizen science projects work by participating in one. We're going to help you do that same introduction for patrons who come to an event with you. We really want to keep it easy and fun. We want to learn. We want to set ourselves up for learning, and we want you to set yourselves up for learning. So you don't, as Kara said, you don't have to know everything about the project. The event doesn't have to be perfect. It's really about learning, and be honest with people. Say, you know what, we're doing this. We're going to explore together. Come and join me on a great adventure. This is the event agenda that we're suggesting. And I'll walk through the pieces now, and then we'll go into some more detail in a minute. So we do encourage you to start with an introduction and an overview, and do like the big picture, something about like what we've already said here. And then pause and give the people who are with you in the room a chance to introduce themselves to each other. Now, this might not be a normal thing that you do in library programming, but it's really important here because it can help young people especially, I think, benefit from understanding that other people like science and why. So hearing from the adults in the room, why they're there, what they're interested in, can help young people who are developing their interests feel less alone and feel like they're part of a community of people. The same is true for adults in your community. It also can it helps people start using their voice. Some of us still think we have to be quiet every time we go into a library. So inviting people to say, my name is Sarah, I'm here because I'm really excited about asteroids, helps people kind of exercise their voice and invites them to help to work with each other when they get stuck or help each other get unstuck. And that can really serve you. You don't have to do an endless around the entire room introduction of everyone with everyone listening. If you've got a great turnout or you're really tight on time, have people turn to a few people around them, introduce themselves, share why they're at the event, and maybe something else. We've made this suggestion about what's the last thing you read because this is Librarians, but do whatever works for you. So once you've done that, we're going to do a short walkthrough of the Daily Minor Planet website together. This is just going to be, as Kara said, an overview of kind of where is the information. Once you've done that with everyone, we suggest that you invite people who want to figure it out themselves or figure it out in teams to go into the back of the room and just go ahead and do it, go at their own speed. And those who want to walk through the tutorial together to come forward and do that a little bit more slowly at their own pace without the pressure of people being impatient, and do that, kind of go through and talk through the examples, and we'll show you what that looks like in a few minutes. And then give a bunch of time to people to actually do the project on their own. And I think this is really important, bring everybody back together to share what they experienced, share what they got excited about, share where they got stuck so they can help each other. But that's your way to kind of pool the best of the experiences in the room and make sure everybody hears what's possible from everyone else. So that is the event agenda. And we're going to dig into the details of the project now. So I'm going to be giving you a little bit more of a thorough introduction to this project and to the resources than you might need to give to your event attendees, because I'm also talking to you as sharers of information. So I want you to know where you can find the information that you need to help coach people on finding the project that they're really excited about. So I'm going to go through these tools and talk this through with you in a little bit more detail, but I'll try to be really clear about what I'm doing that's for you and what I suggest that you do for your event attendees. So here is the NASA Citizen Science website on the science.nasa.gov website. So here's there's lots of links and lots of information to explore. Here's a little reminder that even though we use citizen science as the term here, there is no requirement for any kind of citizenship in the US or anywhere else. Everyone's invited to join. Here is a link as well on how to subscribe to that public information about NASA citizen science projects. There's right now a featured video with Marc, who's with us today. And then here are all the projects, and there are a lot of them, right? Each one has an image that represents itself. Underneath is the project name. And then there are 2 links that you want to pay attention for. There's this read project summary. That's every project on this website has a project summary, or there's one in the works and it'll be there soon. It's one way that we help people compare among all 36 projects. It's a short version of the information about the project. I'm going to walk you through one in a minute. Or you can go right to the project website if that's what you're ready to do. So we're going to start with the project summary for, I meant to go to Daily Minor Planet. Here we are at Daily Minor Planet. We're going to go to the project summary. So each of these pages is laid out the same way. There's our project title, a short description of the project, a link to go to the website. Over on the right, there's some really high-level information that you'll want to pay attention to. The age that this is appropriate for. Now, you need to take that age with a grain of salt. If a project has very specific accommodations for youth to participate, that number will be lower, that age will be lower. But this is the default. If it's a public project, NASA has chosen to say 18 or above. I'm going to show you that you can participate in Zooniverse hosted projects. Zooniverse is a platform that hosts a lot of the projects that NASA sponsors. You can do that anonymously, which means you don't have to share any personally identifiable information, which means it's okay for youth, even youth under 13, with appropriate support, to participate in that project. They don't have to share any personally identifiable information. There are benefits for registering, so you might consider that, and we'll talk through that as we get to them. It also tells us that this project happens online, and there are some projects that are online, other projects that are outdoors, outside. The data collection ones, you're making observations with your cell phone, those tend to be outside. The online ones are mostly data, looking at data and working through data and helping scientists find the good stuff. This project is in the solar system, and we know that this project launched in 2023, which means it's pretty mature. It's probably got all the bugs worked out, and it's going pretty well. Okay, so here, most projects have a video from the scientist giving an overview, like, welcome to my project. This is what it's about. I'm really excited for you to help me do this work. Scrolling down further, there are 3 sections that might be particularly useful to you. There's the what you'll get to do, which is really like, what's so cool about doing this project? In this case, you get to look for asteroids. You might be the first person to see a new asteroid that nobody else has identified. That's pretty cool. There are requirements. Tells you, do you need to know anything before you start doing this project? In this case, no. The tutorial provides everything you need to know. Do you need any special equipment? Nope. In this case, we just need a web-connected device. And how long is it going to take to get started? The tutorial is about 5 or 10 minutes. And then it tells you, okay, what are the steps to get started? You know you want to do it? What do I do? So 1, 2, 3, 4, go to the project website, click on the classify or validate button, do the tutorial, and get started. And we're going to do that in just a minute. So there's also some learn more information. If there are lesson plans or anything that the project team has created to support this project, they'll be linked from here. There's often a link to more information about the science that's being done, the research that's being done. And we often use this section as well for cross-promotion of projects. So if there's a project that's close to this but slightly different, we might cross-promote those. So here there is an international astronomical search collaboration that has teams of people doing similar work, and that's particularly suited to schools, so that's listed there. Almost every summary page has a representation of the data or the activity that participants will be doing, so you can get a quick look at that. It's not going to mean much to us until we do that tutorial. That's fine. And then scrolling down at the bottom, you can see the people who are behind the project. So you'll often see photographs like we do here. There are links so you can go and learn more about the people who've set up this project. It's often engaging to know there's human beings, and get to know the human beings who are part of a project before you do that. So explore that as you like. So right now, though, we're going to go to the project website. So this is the part that I would share with event attendees. If you're hosting an event for NASA Citizen Science at your library, this is the part that I would present to your attendees. So here we are on the project website. We know we're on Zooniverse because it says so right here in the URL. These links up here give you more information about Zooniverse. This is a platform that's been going for many years now. It hosts hundreds of projects in humanities and science, all kinds of exciting work that you can get involved in. So you can explore those links up there. And over here on the right, there are tools. Instantly, we begin to be given tools that let us customize this interface to work better for ourselves. So I can turn it from night to day. This might be really helpful for you or for any participants who have light sensitivity. You can also sign in, but you can also participate, as I said, and do almost everything that the project invites you to do by not signing in and just doing it. The benefits for signing in are you can participate in the talk forum, and you can ask questions of other people who are doing the project. And you can make a collection and see a collection of all the instances or all the objects that you yourself have classified. So those are nice tools, but not necessary. So this page also gives us some more links that we're going to explore in a minute about the project. Here's the project name again. This one is also offered in multiple languages. Many of them are. Many of these translations have actually been contributed by participants in the project, which I think is really wonderful. And just continuing with our orientation of the project. So here's a beautiful image of the telescope that's collecting these observations. There's a very short overview, how long the project is going. This number is ticking up. This will change frequently. When Kara and I started looking at this earlier this morning, it was at 83%. So people are getting to work on this. So let's do that ourselves and see how we do this. First, though, let's go to About. So these parts of the website just give you more information about the project. So it starts with research. This is the background on the science. So what are asteroids? Where are asteroids? Why is it important to why is it important to learn more about them? What good does it do us? You could skip this. You don't have to read that before you do the project, but if you're interested in the bigger picture, that's a great place to find it. The second link is to the team. So these are the same people who we've seen on that summary page, but we also have all of these names. So these are participants in the project who made significant enough contributions that they've been asked to provide some leadership. So over here we have badges for experts. So somebody who has been with the project long enough to really know their way around it and provide more feedback or more help in the talk forums. Some of these are researchers. The moderators are participants who have been really active in the talk forum. They genuinely really like to help other people be successful in the project, and they're there to help and answer questions and direct newcomers to what they need to be successful. There are also testers. So these are people who volunteered to give feedback to the project when they were developing new tools and have helped to shape it as what it is. That's actually a requirement of NASA that real people do these projects, not just scientists. So we know that they're really going to work and be engaging and fun. And then scrolling down, there are a lot of translators. So these are the folks who've actually contributed to making these translations of this website to help it be accessible to more people. And then we have results. In this case, it's a tally of how many things this project has found. They found 4,600, over 4,600 main belt asteroids and 110 near-Earth asteroids. And they have kind of the status of the acceptance of these objects by the Minor Planets Center. So you can check all of that out. And then this is a particularly important, useful resource for you all. There's an FAQ page. These are the questions that participants have asked the science team, but they're also the questions that your library patrons may ask you. So knowing that that's there and you can refer to it with them is a really useful thing. And I want to draw your attention in particular to this question here. How many people look at each object? These research projects, they are real research, but they are designed for people who have no prior experience with this topic or with the data that they're going to be working with. And the science teams know this, and they've designed the project accordingly to enable people to learn by doing. You never have to worry or hesitate to encourage somebody to do a project because out of concern that they're going to mess it up. They can't. Every object that this project puts in front of a person to classify, they put in front of a number of people, and they figure out through statistics and through algorithms on the back end how many people need to look at each object in order for them to be confident that there is or there isn't an asteroid in that image. So you never have to hesitate. You don't have to worry about messing this research up. It's real research. But these projects are designed to let people learn by doing and learn as they go. So don't worry about that. Really, really important message. The other bit of information that's here that's really useful You're going to be looking at a lot of different objects. How many of them are going to be real asteroids? Like, I want to get my expectations right. So about 1 in 100 are going to be real asteroids that have not been identified before. So you do need to put your time in order to find one. So now let's go to classify. So because I'm not signed in, and so it's treating me like a newcomer to this website, this classify, if I click on that classify link, that tutorial pops right up for me. I'll show you how to access the tutorial whenever you want to see it or refresh your skill set. This tutorial will walk you through kind of everything you need to know to be successful with the project. So here's a little overview. Welcome to the project. We're glad you're here. This is what we're looking for. So here's an example of an asteroid, a real asteroid moving across the frame. There's 4 images in each set. And we'll talk a little bit about how to control those images in a minute. So each of these buttons walks you through a different example. And some of them are examples of asteroids. Some are examples of things that look like asteroids, but are not asteroids. That kind of what is not an asteroid is a really important thing to be able to discover or to recognize. So it walks through all of those examples. And then when you get to the end, you can just go ahead and get started. Before we do that, I want to give you a little bit more of an orientation to this window. So here is our tutorial. Anytime you want to redo it, you're welcome to. Just click on that link and you can walk back through those worked examples. If you're ready to actually participate, you hit the task and here's your object and you get to decide if it's a real one or not. This window has a lot of tools around it. I've already used one. I stopped the motion. It kind of automatically scrolls through those 4 images, but it can be kind of distracting. You can decide whether you want to see those wicked fast, at 4 times what normal is, or really slow. Those are really useful. Going slowly helps you kind of recognize what you're looking for when you're new to it and get comfortable. You can also manually step through the different images. And in short, for Daily Minor Planet, what we're looking for is one bright object that might be an asteroid moving across the field of background stars. And that tutorial will help you understand how to identify what is and isn't an actual asteroid. This moving things kind of slowly at your own pace can be really helpful. You can also zoom in. You can zoom out. You can even turn the image around if that for some reason would be helpful. And you can just mess around with it. You don't have to worry because you can always hit that reset. Another tool that might be useful, again, for light sensitive people or to confirm what you're seeing and make sure that something faint is really a signal, you can actually turn those images, change the color entirely, black to white. And if you want to look at all those step through images at the same time, you can click that movie to image button and just scroll through them and see them all there. So those tools for how you control your window are really useful, especially if you've got people who have eyesight issues, light sensitivity, focus, whatever you need. So the other things that I want to show you, there's this talk forum. If you are signed in, you can participate, you can post to this, you can get questions answered. These are the open conversations. So there's a help board, people sharing about results. This group has an off-topic chat. So people are just getting to know each other who are all participating in this project. And these are moderated. With youth, you want to be involved if people are going to participate. Talk about what that means to participate in a forum. These are kind of science enthusiasts all around the world who are having conversations about what they're doing and what they're seeing and who they are. So that's a great opportunity to make friends and connect with other people. There's also this collect tab. This is another source for examples that you want to check out to work through if people are not feeling confident that they know how to recognize them. This is a great resource. You can look at the Daily Minor Planet favorites. If you are signed in, you can build your own collections as well. So that's what I wanted to show you. I think there's one other thing. If you go back to that classify, and again, I'm not signed in, so every time I join or every time I click classify, that's going to pop up. There's also a field guide, which is another place to look for examples, both of real asteroids that have been found by citizen scientists, but also those false detections. So I'm going to pause there and go back to our slide deck. And I've talked through those pages. We've gone through the website. So I'm going to pause for any questions that you might have about the model event agenda or about the project. And I'm not going into details about how to do that project because I'm leaving that to you to do. You can do that yourselves on your own. We're talking about the big picture.
Sarah, one person was wondering about some of the programs need smartphones and laptops for use. There may be a couple paper-based, but do you know if some of these projects have the capacity to provide materials for low-income areas or areas with low Wi-Fi capacity?
Great question. Most of them do require a web-connected device. I don't know about a lot of workarounds for that. Maybe Mark, do you have anything in additional to share about that topic?
Sure, there are a couple of projects that work specifically with schools, and the school can apply. Then they'll send stuff to the school. So, for example, IASC, um, Growing Beyond Earth. There may be an opportunity to get into Easy Mag. I'll look these up and help you guys get them. I'll put the links in the chat and answers in Q&A and stuff.
Great, thanks, Mark. And those projects that do have explicit resources for schools, the ones that Mark just mentioned, are all on that handout for participants that we're going to go through at the end of our session here. So they're called out there. If you miss the names, no worries. But those are, designed. The Isaac, which is how we say IASC, that's the International Astronomical Search Collaboration. That's kind of like this Daily Minor Planet project, is very much a kind of a low Wi-Fi, low tech version of doing the same thing. They physically send you the images, or they send them to you electronically and you can print them. Any other burning questions? Okay, I'm going to keep moving because we're running low on time. So how do you wrap up your event? I said this a little bit when I was giving the overview of the agenda. I really encourage you to bring everyone together after their experience. Everyone in the room is going to have a unique experience. So this is one way that you can kind of pull the best experiences, have people share. So in the toolkit, there's some question prompts. You can just say simply, anybody want to share their experience? If you get crickets, which you might, there are some other questions that you can follow on with. But it really is, these projects are, they're designed to be doable by anyone. And especially groups of people who can I figure one thing out, you figure something else out, and we share. So giving people a chance to ask each other questions or say, I got stuck here, did anyone get past that, can really reinforce for your group, for your attendees, that they can figure this stuff out together. They don't need an expert, that they have the skill sets that they need in order to figure out and contribute to science. It's also a way for you to start building a community of science-loving people at your library. So bringing folks together instead of just letting them leave when they're done is a really nice small move that you can make to build a lasting community. We also encourage you to have people come back together again because we do want you to share this project handout that we have. So I'm showing you just a part of page 2. You will have a link from the toolkit to this resource. You can either print it or you can share it electronically. It's a PDF so all the links work. Here is that little tip of the projects for schools. When you have access to this yourselves, which you will in a few minutes, you can see those names of projects that Marc mentioned that don't require a Wi-Fi signal, an active, strong Wi-Fi signal, or digital devices for every participant. So this is basically a decision tree of how do you find a project. Maybe Daily Minor Planet is the be-all, end-all for your group, and everybody's really excited about it and you want to keep going. Awesome. If anyone in the room has a different interest, this tool can help them find one of the 36 projects that are out there that might better fit their needs, or help you identify a project that maybe is a better match for your community where you are and the things that are of priority to the people who might come to a library event. So first, there are projects that are happening inside and projects that are happening outside. We just walked through an inside project, but there are outside projects that mostly ask people to take their cell phone, their smartphone out and make observations of something or some phenomena and pool them together with others to investigate or monitor a phenomenon. Some of these are really simple to do. This Globe Observer project, it has many different protocols, so you can do a different project using the same app. And then there are some really advanced ones. If you've got folks in your community who have a telescope and they're looking for something to do that feels a little bit more meaningful, we have projects for them. The ones in bold are the ones that we think are the easiest to start with, so we've drawn your attention to those. And then the inside projects. There's a lot of different inside projects. Some of them are as easy to get going with as Daily Minor Planet. Others take a lot more. They're a lot more involved. And there's a lot more to do. You might be, there's just, the possibilities are endless and there's something for everyone. Every project isn't going to be for everyone, but there's probably something for everyone in your community. So just to wrap up, we've covered all the topics that are in the toolkit. This is the table of contents in that toolkit, which you will see soon. We talked about the what, the why, and how. We've walked you through some of the big picture, how you get up to speed on the project, what kind of space you need, how you can advertise your event. We've walked through an event agenda, and we do encourage you to just use this first, use a first event to really learn. I, as a educator, but also as someone who makes a lot of mistakes, I love having a chance to fix things. So I love being able to do something once, learn what I can from doing it, and then have a chance to improve. So you might even plan for yourself to do 2 events. Do the first one kind of by the book because you're going to learn so much by doing that. And then tweak your plan for your second event based on what you learned. So as we mentioned, we're winding down here. Here is a way for you to join that public-facing information about NASA citizen science projects. That's information about new projects, exciting news from existing projects about new discoveries or people who are participating, or even events like this or other events for groups of the public who might be interested. So if you're interested in staying in touch with us, send us an email with the subject line subscribe or subscribe me, and we will add you to that list. I think Marc sends out something about once a month, so you won't be flooded with information at all. It's just a steady trickle of information every few weeks. Kara, is it time for the big unveil?
I think so. Some people are asking, where is it? Where's the toolkit?
Here it is.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! So here's the toolkit. So that toolkit, it's 10 pages. It's a Google Doc. You can all view it. You can't edit it, so you can't mess it up. If you do want to, we actually suggest if you want to kind of rework the agenda in any way, you can make a copy of it. You're welcome to do that. There are links from that Google Doc to the template for an event poster. And again, that's just a Google spreadsheet or Google slide deck. And you can edit it and make it pretty, change the content, add your library logo, all the rest. And it just gives you a place to start. You don't have to use it by any means, but you're welcome to. We wanted to give you the tools that you might need in order to design, advertise, and hold this event. And there's also a link to, or there's also that PDF of that 2-page participant handout. We're calling it a participant handout, thinking about the participants in your events. There's an overview of what is NASA Citizen Science all about on one side. And on the flip side, you'll be able to see that whole decision tree that will help you find projects of interest, and those named projects also link to their summary pages on the website that we talked about, or that we walked through. So you can get the quick information about all of those projects, because 36 projects is a lot to shop through. So use the decision tree and then use those links and look at the summary pages.
Sarah, some folks are asking if you could put it in the chat. I don't know if you have the power. Mark and I don't think have power to send it to the.
Here you go. I'm so sorry to be holding back on that. There is the link. That link in the chat should take you to the folder where those 3 items are. The toolkit, which is a Google Doc Word document. If you don't have access, you should be able to access these no matter whether or not you have a Google account. You can export them out of that folder, make local copies so you can do the editing, download them onto your computer. And as somebody asked, we will be keeping that decision tree updated. So don't forget to check back for updates because projects come and go.
There are some folks who have kind of responded to each other's questions or put really lovely comments in the Q&A. We really appreciate you, and encouragement to join one of the many lovely communities we mentioned today, because these are the awesome people you're going to meet in them.
Yeah, and I've done various projects with the librarians over the course of the last few years, having to do with citizen science and not. And you all are the professional sharers of knowledge. And what is better than that? I really think of you as superheroes in our world, in our communities. And that 1,600 people registered for this event just like blew my mind and exploded my heart. And I'm just so excited to be here with all of you and to know that this resource is going to be in the hands of so many. So we really are thrilled with the interest and really interested in how we can better support you. So another thing in that toolkit, there is a link to a feedback form. There's also my email address. And I genuinely invite you to send me a note. You might hit note from a librarian in the subject line so I can find it quickly in my email box. But we really want to know how this toolkit serves you and where it falls short, what we can do to make it better. If it works really well for you, we'd love to hear that too, because this has given us ideas about, well, how could we tweak it for serving other audiences. So there's nothing like your feedback to help us be successful in that. So we really welcome that. And Kara, it's been an honor to work with you and have a librarian to give me feedback, and all the other librarians and library adjacent people who've given us feedback on this toolkit. It's just, I'm really grateful for you sharing your knowledge and making this a better tool as well. And Mark, for your copy edits.
And for your support and love of libraries is always, always phenomenal. So we're just about at the top of the hour. Thank you, everyone who came today and sat with us. You know, there's still 250 of you here down to the very end. So yes, much love and thank you to everyone, Sarah, Mark, everyone who came, and please reach out. We all really mean it.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the work you do in your communities, advocating for knowledge and science and sharing. And it's just the best. Thanks. All right. With that, we'll say goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Have fun.